What's up everybody, this is Danny. Welcome to my HTC One M8 full review. The HTC One M7 of last year was one of my favorite devices due to its amazing build quality, its gorgeous screen, and its awesome boom sound speakers. The HTC One M8 does exactly all of that and refines it and also puts it into a more beautiful package in my opinion. So to showcase this beauty, I decided to shoot this entire video in 4K resolution with the Oppo Find 7a. So enjoy. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Now the first thing we have to address, of course, is the build quality. And the M7 of last year was also an engineering marvel, but the M8 even takes it to the next level. This thing, instead of being 70% metal, is now 90% metal. Even though that the design is not much different from the M7, you do get some new hardware features such as the 5 megapixel front-facing camera, the SD card expansion slot that is up to 128 gigabytes now, which is fantastic. You also get a dual camera system with the 4 ultra pixel camera and a second camera sensor up top that records depth information, and we'll go over that later on in this review. And you also get the amazing stereo front-facing speakers called Boom Sound, and they're a little bit better actually. And you also get an upgraded 2600 milliamp battery, and even though it's sealed in, we'll talk about battery life later on. And you also get this amazing futuristic IR strip at the top, and you get this new 5-inch 1080p Super LCD 3 display, which is absolutely gorgeous. Now, me personally, I love the metal build of this phone. I love the way it feels in the hand, but it is a little bit slippery, so I can see some accidental drops happening with this phone. Now, the only other gripe I have with this as well is where the power button is placed on the top. I wish it was placed right there at the bottom of the volume rocker switch. That would have been absolutely perfect for me with my hand placement when I was holding this phone. It is a fairly tall device due to the boom sound speakers, so for some it may be a two-handed device, but as you can see here, they did implement some motion gestures so you can unlock the phone without even touching the power button, so for some they might not even care. The M8 is running a brand new version of Sense, which is Sense 6.0. They're calling it the 6th Sense, and it is their skin overlay over Android, and it is extremely fast, and it has to do with two things. When you look at the software, it is running the latest version of Android 4.4.2, and it is also being powered by the brand new Snapdragon 801 processor, which is quad-core with 2 gigabytes of RAM and the Adreno 330 GPU. All the things you love or hate about the Sense software is here, including blink feed, as you can see, but what's awesome is blink feed can be completely disabled, which I think that HTC did a great job of doing. Even though I don't mind it, some people hate it, so you can completely disable it. And I found that the Sense software is one of the most usable Android skins on the market today. It's fast, it's snappy, it adds a lot of different software and features that I think that people can use, and I personally like Sense 6.0. Of course, the software is not perfect, but I think it does a great job of showcasing what the M8 can do. Extreme power saving mode is here, but in the US carriers, you can only get it on the Sprint network, so kudos to Sprint for actually patching this through, and I got to test it a little bit. It basically takes your smartphone and turns it into a dumb phone, so you can only get phone, messages, mail, and things like that. Only your necessity, so you can save as much battery as possible. It's pretty much like the one that is on the Galaxy S5, but it's more limited here on the One M8. I know many people were worried about the battery life on the M8 because the M7 of prior did not have very good battery life, but trust me, the M8's battery is great because you can see here I'm here at 78%, about 5.5 hours of use. That's about right for me. I was getting at least 13 hours of battery life on this phone, and even though it's a sealed in 2600 milliamp battery, I do not think you'll have a problem pushing through a full day with the HTC One M8, so I would not worry that it does not have a removable battery. I've had nothing but great experiences with the battery life. It's good that the M8 has great battery life because this phone is a multimedia powerhouse. This 5-inch 1080p Super LCD 3 display is absolutely gorgeous. It has great viewing angles, awesome color replication, it's bright, it's sharp. You will love this display. Now, when it is coupled with those boom sound speakers, those front-facing stereo speakers, you cannot get a better multimedia experience. on any smartphone right now, period. When you're listening to media on the headphones, it's not much different than the other flagships that are out there, but the external speakers just cannot be beaten. If you have not experienced these boom sound speakers, then make sure you go out and experience them. And the gaming on this with the Adreno 330 GPU, also coupled with those boom sound speakers, make for one of the best gaming experiences on a mobile device. It's buttery smooth, as you can see, frame rates are great, Dead Trigger 2 plays without any kind of problems on the HTC One M8. I guess we can't forget that this thing is actually a phone as well, so let's talk about the phone call quality. I thought that the phone call quality was fantastic on the M8. I got to test it on the AT&T network and now on the Sprint network. If you're on the Sprint network, it does support Spark LTE, so you will get fast LTE in your area if Spark is supported, and the phone call quality was great. The actual LTE connection and data connection was fantastic, and the speakerphone is absolutely exceptional because of the boom sound speakers. So phone call quality and the experience of the phone is absolutely fantastic on the M8, so don't worry about the phone call quality at all. If you stop the review there, you probably would think that I'm an HTC fanboy, but there are some things wrong with this device. Even though that it feels fantastic, and I think nothing is better built than this device right now on the market, it does have that kind of scary feeling when you hold it in the hand, because I almost dropped it a couple times and I was pretty scared. So that's the only thing that I have to talk about: build quality. And there's the big elephant in the room here, which is the 4 ultra pixel or 4 megapixel camera. So let's talk about this with the dual camera sensor. Now, before we talk about quality, let's talk about the dual camera sensor and the software a little bit. Now, if you block the dual camera sensor, it will tell you to get your finger out of there so you don't take a jacked up shot, which is intelligent of the software, and that's great. And as you can see, this software and this camera is super fast. I mean, the pictures are almost instantaneous. Overall, I like the camera software on the M8. I think it's very simple, I think it's intuitive, and you do have a lot of tools here. You can reframe things, you can have filters and effects, and this dual camera though is a little bit wonky here, because if you look at this picture, you cannot use it for close-up photos. That doesn't really make any sense, because if it's an actual second sensor thing, I don't see why that wouldn't work. But we'll go ahead and move on to a regular shot that does work. Let's just take a picture of this tree here, and you can see you can go into the edit and do a whole bunch of different functions here. Colorize, and I do really like the cartoon one. I think the cartoon one looks really nice. And you can go into seasons here and change different seasons. I don't know why you would really use this, and you really can't take this off your device either, so you can only show that on your device. And if you go into Dimension Plus, you can do this 3D stereoscopic effect here with that second sensor, but you really can't take that off the device as well. So that's kind of more of a gimmick so you can show that to your friends, but it's really not very useful. Let me show you an example of the U-Focus. There it is. You can see it does a very good job of blurring that out if you have a good subject in front of you though. If it's not very clear, then you're gonna get some really bad effects. Now, if you look at the sample photos themselves, you do have some problems with exposure, and the colors just are pretty muted, and under certain situations, you're not gonna get good pictures such as this. One of the largest weaknesses about this camera is definitely the dynamic range. You can see it's struggling under these sample photos, and you do get some muted colors along with that. But is this the worst camera in the world? Absolutely not, because you can see some of these sample photos I got, they look great, but only under good lighting conditions and controlled. But the biggest thing about this is if you actually take this off of the phone itself and look at it on a monitor, on a bigger screen, you will notice the lack of detail in these due to the 4 megapixel resolution. Low light photography wasn't too bad. It's definitely a little bit worse than the M7 due to the lack of optical image stabilization. It does produce some noisy shots here, but at least you can actually get a picture in this dark condition. Trust me, the Galaxy S5 is much worse under lighting conditions, so make sure you check that out in my full review of the Galaxy S5. But on the 1080p video, it's actually not too bad either. It's fairly sharp, but once again, due to the lack of optical image stabilization, if you're gonna move at all during these videos, I'm trying to hold this M8 as still as possible while I'm walking, and this is some shaky video. And I think that if you're gonna try to take some serious video with this, you're probably gonna need to take a tripod or something with you, but under regular conditions, it's almost unusable 1080p video. In conclusion, what do I think about the HTC One M8? Overall, I think it is a fantastic device. The build quality on this phone cannot be matched by any other mobile device right now. And that is just a fact. I could not believe it when I took it out of the box, and the way it feels in the hand, and if you look at the curves and you just look at the way it's built and how solid it is, you just cannot get a better built device than the HTC One M8. It's got a fantastic 1080p display that is very sharp. Yes, I would like to see a higher resolution display, but really in the end, this is a great display. And it's got great colors on here. The touch sensitivity is great on here as well, viewing angles, and the Sense 6 software. To me, I think everything as a package, as a device, it is fantastic, but the Achilles heel here is this 4 ultra pixel camera along with that dual camera. I mean, 4 megapixels in a flagship device right now, I just don't think that's cutting it. I think that if they would have just taken that dual camera sensor out and just gave me an 8 megapixel camera with optical image stabilization, I would have been much happier with this device. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people will go for something like the Samsung Galaxy S5, which has a 16 megapixel camera and has a great shooter and shoots 4K video. But in the end, the M8 is very special. I think this is one of the best devices of this year. Just the way that they implemented the software, the motion gestures to the Sense 6 software, and just the way the hardware and software meet together. I think this is one of the best choices for an Android device right now. If you are particular about your cameras on your mobile device and you love cameras and you love image quality, then you definitely do not want to pick this up. But if you're just using your camera for Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, and you're only just using it for social and just sharing some via MMS, then this is going to be absolutely perfect for you. I think that's the only deciding factor in it all is the camera, and you're not going to be disappointed at all if you're going to buy this on a 2-year contract or use it as a daily driver. Alright guys, that does it for me with the review of the HTC One M8. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below, and make sure you follow me on Twitter if you have any questions. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more content like this. And thank you for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.